Swing it, boys, swing for the fence. Shove it, boys, make 'em miss. Some big league chew in a baseball souvenir. Come on, sing with me now. The Joe is home, sweet home. It's roll, tide, roll. The Joe is home, that's right. Home, sweet home. Hey, look, is that Roll Tide Willie over there? Blitz, Bama, Blitz.
Welcome again, everybody. It's the Weekly Joe Podcast, your authority on Alabama baseball. We're going to go Max Ball again tonight. I have with me tonight Roger Myers. I have Meghan Dennis, Dr. Meghan Dennis. I keep forgetting from our South Carolina office. First, fresh off a weekend series where she at least went to one game, I know, with of the Chanticleers at Coastal, her employer. We'll get to hear a little bit about that. We got Drew Champlin, as usual, sitting all gumped up. Let's show him the shirt.
We got, it's the DeBoer Oats 24 shirt.
Right. We probably need a Vaughn Oats model.
It's a pretty comfortable shirt. It's that tri-blend or whatever, the cotton blend.
Good. All right.
I mean, if you want to support student athletes, go look at Yay Alabama and find you a nice $35 shirt.
There you go.
It's very comfortable.
Yeah. Special thanks again to Peter Slight, Campland for our theme song, Christian Sykes for producing this for us tonight, and Crimson Crossover for presenting our podcast. And so here we go, another week of Alabama baseball. We're coming off a mixed bag of a week. We continue to be very strong in the midweek games with 2 to go. We're now 11-0 after a win over UAB last Tuesday night in a 5-3 game. Then we go to LSU for the weekend and kind of feel like maybe one got away. You just don't want to get swept in that situation, which we didn't. But mind you, the way that one kind of played out, I kind of feel like we're all kicking ourselves a little bit that we couldn't get a second out of those 3. We'll talk about takeaways from this team. We talked a little bit beforehand about how now you're 18 games into the schedule. Your team is kind of shaped up to have an identity, and you are kind of what you are. You can kind of lament what you aren't, but let's talk a little bit about what we are and what that means for us going forward. We'll talk a lot about what's going on around the league because, I mean, there were some kind of topsy-turvy series this weekend, and some of the upper tier teams getting knocked down, and some of the bottom feeders earlier in the year are suddenly on the rise and moving up quickly. We have a lot of viewer questions, and we'll get to those, and we'll just jump right into it right now. Let's talk midweek last week. UAB. Drew, you were there. I didn't get down there for this one. Roger was there. I'm sure you probably watched, Meghan. Your thoughts, Roger, from another win over Birmingham U, as you are apt to call them, and just the continued consistency we see in the midweek games from this team.
Well, yes, we play sometimes just well enough to win in these midweek games, but that's better than playing bad enough to lose. I mean,
yes,
which we've had some years where we've done that. And like you were mentioning before, a couple of dormant bats woke up, had a home run from Norton and home run from Staten to kind of put it away late. And then, of course, had to use Oz midweek again to shut it down. And he made it a little bit interesting with a couple of base runners on, but we got the strikeout looking to Camden Hayslip to end it. Yeah. And Cam didn't have a great homecoming. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Nothing like what he did Saturday, I guess.
Saturday, two homer day, 6
2
RBI.
homer double, a grand slam, and probably 8 RBI.
Right.
But I mean, their record is not nearly as good in this game as it was when we played them earlier. They were
right.
They had a really
some struggles.
Good. So apparently, in conference they have struggled, but I really like their center fielder. I mean,
yeah, Braunschweig.
Braunschweig. That kid is good. He got on base 4 times. Didn't rob us of any home runs or doubles or anything this time, but anything hitting the center field, he's on top of it. We probably we only struck out 7 times.
7 times, yeah.
But still, this was like one of those one walk games, one walk, one hit batter, which we had struggled through until Saturday.
Mhm.
LSU gave us a bunch of free
A bunch
bases.
of them. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drew,
So
yep.
uh, Alcott did good starting,
He
you
did.
know, his
I thought
first
so.
midweek start. Buchanan's been solid all year. Finatieri had a nice inning, Blackwood had a good inning, and then I shut it down.
Yeah.
So, you know, the pitching and having several guys that fit that level
Mhm.
easily, you know, can
Right.
take care of it there. You know, just it's good to win. I mean, it wasn't overpowering or anything like that, but it was a
Yeah.
nice win, and we played pretty clean.
Right. Drew, you've seen this too. I mean, our approach at the plate. Now, ironically, this game, it was the bottom half of the order that carried us because, we get Richie goes 1 for 4, LeBron's 0 for 4, Snell's 0 for 4, which is rare, the way he's been swinging it. Torres doesn't get a hit, Fowler doesn't get a hit. And so pretty much all the hits came from the bottom of the order, which was totally different from the weekend here. What's going on with our approach at the plate that we shut it off one night. We don't draw walks, and then you have a game like Saturday where you do. What do you see from some of these bats?
You know, the UAB game, they ran out a different guy every inning, so sometimes that
Yeah.
can be a little tough to get adjusted to. You know, Norton got him a good 3-1 fastball over, belt high that he just belted over left field. But what our team really needs to do, because it really hasn't shown that it can be like a 12 or 15 run team, is have the solid at bats to draw those walks. And they were doing that early this year. That Ohio State game got a couple key walks just to really set up those home runs. Um, but it also kind of depends on the strike zone. So you get
Exactly.
those guys. Now the guys in the LSU series, I thought they had pretty wide zones, and I think for both teams,
Yeah.
except we got screwed twice in that Thursday game, and that's why we lost. I'm going to say that's why we lost the game.
Certainly
But
shifted momentum.
yeah, when you're when you're trying to draw walks and you think you're taking good pitches, and they probably are low or outside, but the umpire's calling them that way, then it's kind of tough. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what we have to get base runners on it and get them home. 4 home runs first game, but 3 of them were solo. Well, then Richie gets a 3-run home run Saturday, and those are the types of home runs that win you games.
Yes, exactly. Meghan, on the pitching front here, a decent outing from Alcott. Goes 3 2/3. Walks a couple of guys, hits a batter, gives up only one earned run. And then Buchanan comes in behind him. Brian's got hit a little bit and gave up an earned run. Finateri Blackwood had a clean inning. Kind of getting guys in because some of these guys have not been gotten a lot of work the weekend before. Um, you look up and down that order, and now that was the innings these guys are getting. You don't have a midweek game next week. You only have one left after that. You think you start maybe seeing some of these guys a little more on the weekend.
I mean, I think inevitably, yes. I guess I hope that we're in a case that we don't need them, like that I hate to say it and I want to be wrong, but inevitably the injury bug will bite
At
somebody.
some point,
So
yes.
I hope we have somebody who's there to be able to step up, which mean like these guys need the opportunity to get those innings and to get them in somewhere. So I'm glad we got a bunch of guys in. I'm glad that Bobby got, some decent innings and be able to kind of hopefully reset there and maybe be able to find him a role coming out of the pen or whatever that looks like for a weekend position. But I'm also kind of hoping that our starters are able to give us more than
Yeah,
what we've seen the
extend.
last few weeks. And
Yes.
then it's like, well, it sucks because these guys aren't getting innings, but it's also a good thing because it means we're not needing them.
Right.
So I guess
Yeah.
kind of on both fronts there.
There's a balance. It's hard for them to stay sharp if they're not getting the game innings. But Drew, what else do you do at this point? I mean, you don't you're you don't really throw a bullpen game tomorrow and give 9 guys an inning. I mean, what and I mean, obviously, some guys you just want to keep sort of fresh in case you need
Yeah.
them.
I mean, if you're for tomorrow at Sanford, I'd like to see Bobby give us at least 4 or 5 innings.
Mm.
Hopefully, not use Osmer. The thing about this game at Sanford is that ballpark is a launching pad.
It is. Yeah.
So we'll probably need to take us our 4 bets at the end of the game. How many home runs are we going to hit and who's going to hit them? But I'd love to see us play a midweek game where we don't have to use Osmer at the end. I know
Right.
it's nice to pad his stats and make him look better for awards, but it's also nice to
Mhm.
comfortably not, and it's not so much to save his arm, it's just to get the bats really going. So
Yeah.
then you
But
can
it,
throw a guy like VZ at the end of the game or something, get him a little bit more. So we'll
Right.
see.
What are you thinking, Roger?
yeah, I was agreeing with Drew on it'd
Yeah.
be nice to have some runs where Oz isn't needed to run out there
Right.
and
Right.
get
Mhm.
his say. I mean, he's breathing down Ben Short's neck now for the
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's one behind the all
He's
time
one
season
behind all
record.
time. Okay. Yep. He'll
We'll
get it.
probably get it in one of these SEC games, and he does
For sure.
not look like he is tired or anything like that. He's just
Yeah.
going out there and getting the job done. So I like watching him pitch. I just like us see us score more runs in some of these games,
Yeah.
midweek
Yeah.
games.
He's only
Seven hit.
pitched. He's only pitched for 3 years, so this is his
Yeah.
third year to ever pitch. So
Oh
I
wow,
mean, he's got a fresh arm.
He doesn't
yeah,
have the wear and tear from
No,
high school or whatever.
no,
A 7-hit attack on the night and you get a win. I mean, that's fortunate. It was a little bit of a carryover from the weekend before. It kind of carried over into the next, into the weekend after. What do you do to? I talked about before. I mean, what do you do to get? We were talking about sacrificing a chicken or whatever. How do you get these bats going, Roger? Because it's just there's only so many guys you could shuffle around in there,
right.
and the guy's hitting 200 over the last 10 games. The guy you bring in behind, he's probably doing about the same thing, and you just hope for the best.
That pretty much. I mean, and we have seen more lineup flips this
Yes.
thus far this year than we saw all of last year for sure.
Yeah.
Richie's gone from 9 to 1 to 4.
Uh-huh.
And he's hitting wherever he is.
Everywhere. Exactly. Bryce went from 1 to 7 or 8, now back up to 1. It's
right.
Yeah,
and he's picked it back up, and then Snell's just been unbelievable this past weekend. Once he's feeling better, he after that injury, he was, it was worse than he let on.
Definitely banged up. Yeah.
And once he got his glute muscle healed up some, I think that really showed this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And amazingly, I mean, he struck out 10 times all season.
Yeah.
And he takes hacks. I mean, he's not Azari or whatever. He's swinging the bat, but he's just got apparently just great hand-eye coordination, and it's just a hitter.
Yeah. 38 strikeouts on the weekend as a team as we get into the LSU weekend. I think we went 13, 16, and 9, which, oh my God. I mean, you get what, 81 outs, 38 of them are by strikeout. It's just, you're lucky to win a game if you do that. I mean, you just happen to get down to 9 one game, and your approach was a little better. Otherwise, I have one question that somebody said. Let me find it. Okay, here we go. Well, this is kind of it. We had one from Brooksy 4532. Y'all are close to the program. Is there a rhyme or reason we platoon the same 11 players when they're struggling? Kind of to the effect I'm saying there. I wonder why we haven't tried Williamson or Madonio at second or third. Also kind of wondering about Staten. He went 1 for 1 Saturday, then we pinch hit for him. Your thoughts on that? I mean, we got a couple of younger guys, Drew, that we've seen pop up in the lineup, but you going to take that chance?
Well, I mean, they could only be playing in midweek pretty much.
That's true. Yeah.
We're carrying a lot of pitchers, and then like 12
not active
in the SEC.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to be hard to activate somebody that's got one at bat all year.
Yeah, true.
We would have probably really needed to see more of those guys at the beginning of the season, and but we just kept running the same lineup out there, just game after game after game, and that is what it is. But also when you're not winning those games 16 to 1, it's harder to get guys at bats later in the game, like we were. Maybe in years past. So, we've seen John Young a little bit more. We've seen Steele, got him that Southern Miss game. Haven't seen him since. But we don't know if Madunio and Williamson and Duff, those guys have gotten at bats. Duff scored the game winning the go-ahead run of the Ohio State game. Hasn't played since.
That's the only time he's played at all.
I hope we can fake an injury for him so he doesn't burn a redshirt year, because that's it. Hopefully he's got a bum foot or something now. That's kind of like, well, if you don't play them early, you really don't know what you got. And now it's almost like we're throwing John Young in there against LSU and Mississippi State, and he's been basically cold for weeks and weeks until then. Well, you need to play them against Sanford too, just to kind of get them
Yes,
three solid
exactly.
at bats at least. So we'll see if that
Right.
Or
happens
UAB
tomorrow.
last week, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
Norton did hit the 2-run home run, so that we don't have that, we may not win that game.
I usually get to do the questions at the end, but we had a thought and it just triggered a couple of these, and a little bit of perspective here, or different thought on it. The one we just covered is somebody asking, why are we kind of platooning the same 11 players? Here's one, Megan, from Haas Flowers, who you'll hear from on Weekly Joe Extra that we're going to record later tonight with a bunch of wall banging right field ragers. He's going to be one of them. What are the crew's thoughts on the willingness to shift the lineup and rotation more this year compared to how it seemed last year? So we got one thought, you're playing the same guys, and then the other, you're shifting them a lot. I mean, it's the same, but a little bit the same. What are your thoughts on that? You do see a little more of that than we kind of saw last year.
I mean, personally, I love actually getting to see it because I think that's something we talked about last year a lot of like, why aren't we trying this person? Why aren't we doing this? Why is it, I mean, it's that idea if you're going to do it over and over and over and it's not working, well, you're going to expect that same outcome. And so I mean, I think we talked about it last week. Like some of these choices, I don't know if I necessarily agree with. I think sometimes it doesn't make the most sense. Maybe if Garrett hadn't gotten hurt at the beginning of the year, we have him from the beginning. It's a completely different outcome from the get-go there.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that like Rob is clearly showing that he is willing to give guys the chance to prove that they deserve it when we do have more than just 9 that have that potential. I think it's a good sign, quite
Yeah,
honestly.
I do too. I mean, it keeps them fresh. So go ahead, Drew. You got a thought on that?
Yeah, I think we didn't really address. Someone asked about Staten going 1-for-1 and then pinch
Yeah,
hitting Mizell there. I think that
It
was
was,
the Saturday game.
I
Yeah,
think it
yeah,
was Saturday.
it was,
yeah,
Yeah, it was
yeah,
Saturday.
it was righty, righty, lefty, lefty. They did.
yeah. I
Thanks.
guess that's the reason we did it, because they started at lefty and then they put in Shores. So Mizell, we don't score a run without that first pinch hit because he walked and then he took second on the
Mhm.
ball in the
Uh-huh.
dirt,
And he
Uh-huh.
and then
wouldn't
then he
have scored on
scored.
it. So
So
yeah, he wouldn't have scored
yeah, I mean
without
that
that.
worked out really well, but I mean, you kind of had to figure they were going to bring more lefties out there, so that's kind of a tough call to make in the third inning.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
know, kind
Good
of,
catch, good game detail there. The
yeah,
catch right there. So we'll get an LSU. So let's do talk about this. So Friday night. Well, I mean, like a great weekend ahead of us. Felt like A&M all over again. It's like, all right, we're gonna roll out of here and sweep these guys. We jump out to 5-1 lead in the through the was it in the fifth or in the sixth, and then all
6,
hell.
yeah,
Top of the sixth, it was 5-1.
5-1. So I think then they got like 3, 4, and 3 or something like that in the next three. They got 10 runs the next
That's
three.
correct. 3-4-3.
We go from a 5-1 lead to an 11-5 deficit, and I will talk about the turn on the LeBron called third strike. But let's talk about the pitching. The decision by the staff to go again with Faye on a Thursday night. Kind of felt you knew last week was probably a little bit of a transition that we were working on to shift around a little, but to have him go Sunday, because Alcock was kind of moving into the midweek, and then you move him up. I thought it was a pretty genius move, especially given the way the schedule plays out in the next week or so, Roger. And it looked like for 5 innings it worked well. In fact, it did.
Yeah.
And then it's just every bullpen button we punched the rest of the way just didn't work.
Yeah. Tyler looked very comfortable in a starting role rather than come out of the pen. I mean, he had more strikeouts. He had swing and miss. He, didn't give up the 2-out run scoring hit.
Yeah. The 2-strike pitches were located well. The switch
Right.
has been a little bit of a bugaboo.
So, I mean, I think that's, a better slot for him, and he should be building up more.
That's what I figure. Yeah.
Where we can, and I'm not sure if they'll go Tyler Thursday night, or I think probably they'll keep Riley on Friday and Zane.
That's what I thought too.
On Saturday this week.
Yeah.
So go with Tyler again on Thursday.
Right.
And possibly flip at Vandy next week if we want to put Riley in on the Friday.
Right. Because you get an extra day, right? I mean, the way the schedule lays out, this is another.
Right.
This past week was a Thursday to Saturday series. You got another one this week, so you kind of got to be careful with that. That golden arm, with the big scar on it now.
Right.
That you don't try to shift him up, make him throw him 5 days of rest or 6 days of rest.
But yeah, I'm very encouraged by Faye's progression
Yeah.
in that role. So it could be like the Ben Hess, when
Yeah. Where it
like
clicked.
like the last 3 or 4 series of the year last year.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he may be that guy. I mean, because he's got a lot of potential. I mean,
Absolutely.
the stuff's there, the velo's there, the size. I mean, he's got it. So hopefully that's going to happen.
And he started a lot, and we talked to his dad a lot about it. He spent most of the summer last year and pitched a lot last summer. I mean, he stayed with his Cape team all the way into the middle. I mean, up till school started, and was starting games. They made a pretty deep playoff run, if I remember correctly. Meghan, you saw him at 50 pitches. Did you? And they pulled him. I was kind of like, yeah, are we already doing that? I mean, what did you think about that?
I mean, I think if I remember, like, it wasn't. Yeah, it didn't really make sense to me. Like, it was just, if it's not completely broke, I don't know why go to it and why change the pin. I'd have to look back at the box score to see kind of what things were at that point. But
yeah,
like
50
hours blinking. Yeah, he was at 53, but he had thrown Sunday.
That's
which
true.
was 50 something pitches as well. So I think that might have had something to do with it. But I mean, he definitely should be built.
Yeah, Meghan, you expect to see him go, maybe you bump him to 70 or 75, something like that this week when he's gotten a little less wear and tear.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about, like, it was Sunday to Thursday, so that was definitely a lot shorter rest on that front. So yeah, I would assume probably 70, 75, and hopefully it means that, like, we're in, the 6th or 7th before that's having to happen too.
Right. So he gives you 3. Heiberger comes in behind you, and here's his line. He had 4 hits, 1 earned run. He didn't walk anybody, which is it's fantastic. Got for a bullpen guy adjusting to starting. Struck out 6, threw a wild pitch. You gave up 1 extra base hit, was a double. Heiberger comes in, he 2 1/3. So again, we're 1 out into the 6th, and then the home run ball started hitting us. Morris gives up 1. I think that was on, if I remember right, it was 0-2 pitch, and just
I had it at 0-1. It looks like
it was 0-1. So it kind of felt like, oh man, you just can't leave it out there that good when you're heading the count. Gives up a couple of runs. Lehman only threw to the 1 batter than any of it, and I don't remember what the guy did, but he came in on a lefty. JT came in and had a rough outing. I mean, he had been throwing a lot. I mean, kind of the same deal. I guess he threw an inning. He threw an inning in the midweek game.
JT got hosed on that 3-2 call to Jerry
He did,
Jones.
exactly. Yeah.
And that changed the whole inning, if you think about it, because, then 2 batters later, Milam hits the home run. The next
So here's the thing.
Defense didn't help him a lot either.
Yeah, it's true. Do you think, I don't think of JT as a guy I want out there in the 7th or 8th inning. I feel like JT is more of my, hey, we take Faye out in the 4th, get me JT in to buy me 2 innings, then I get to Heiberger. What do you think of that shuffle, Drew?
Well, I mean, that's what we did against Mississippi State, and it didn't work out very well.
So okay. Well, all right, we tried it. All right.
I think right now he's just kind of struggling to against the SEC teams to not get hit so hard. Yeah. So just got to have him bounce back. He was really good against, I think it was Tennessee, maybe, or Oklahoma.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Yeah. So I think he's got it in him. It's just there's just gotta figure it out. But yeah, I want to say Faye, man, he's been so good these last 2 starts, and if Jim Wells was his pitching coach, he would have gone 100 Sunday and then 100 on this Friday. But I think we really need to hopefully get him like 80 or 85 or so. Because I think, I guess he probably, I don't know the combined stats, but I think he's probably went close to 8 innings and gave up 3 runs, and 2 of those runs were on the first 2 batters he faced. Yes. So he's really put us in a position to win his 2 starts, and it's unfortunate that we couldn't win those.
Yeah. We talked about kind of the top of the order, the bottom of the order. The story of this weekend was just the bottom of the order just was really struck. It didn't matter how we ordered them, who we put up there. And by the bottom, I mean like 5 to 9. I mean the middle and the bottom. On this particular night, we get Fowler 1 for 4. LeBron 0 for 4. LeBron had a rough weekend. There's no doubt about it. But he was making great contact. I mean, he was piping balls.
Saturday game, particularly, his first 3 had to be 100
right
plus.
Yeah, right at guys.
Yeah.
And in this game, game's a little unforgiving in that regard. Snell hits the 2 bombs. Richie hit one that night too. No, yeah, he hit one that night too. So we get and Brady hits really about the only thing we got at the bottom of the order. One hit by Hodo and a homer by Neal. And we mentioned the strikeouts. I mean, the strikeouts just piled up. 13. Torres had 4. Torres had a really rough weekend. So I mean, do you think what happens, Meghan, is the conference kind of gets the book on a guy, and they're like, this guy's a good fastball hitter. He's going to chase it up a little bit, but if you throw him the breaking ball at the knees and down to the feet, he's going to chase it. You think they kind of got the book on him at this point?
I mean, he went what 10 strikeouts before he finally got a hit.
Yeah,
So I guess
right.
you got to say like it's got to be that where it's like, if it's the same thing every time, something's got to change.
Just not making an adjustment. I thought our at bats, and this is a kind of kind of getting into the overall weekend. I felt like, and I said this in one of the recap, I felt like we were very passive. Now we've been passive in a good way in the past, where we're taking pitches to work counts deeper, and I think back to that Oklahoma game when we're playing when Zane, when they ran him up to 90 something pitches because they fouled 30 something balls off. We don't do that. There's a art form to that. And I mean, you see some big leaguers who can do that real well. We don't seem to do that. But what I see us do a lot is take till we get a strike. But then a lot of times we've taken a couple of really good fastballs, and now we're susceptible to breaking balls, and we're taking because we're guessing wrong and all. It just felt like there was just a lack of aggression these first 2 games that maybe flipped in the 3rd game. Roger, you agree with that?
I do. Yeah, and we've noticed, we've talked about it at the games, how other teams are just fouling balls off. The first thing we had Brian had that 12 pitch walk where he fouled off.
Yes.
He fouled off several 96, 97 mile an hour pitches over and over. And he's done that a lot in, this season, like 2 strike. I mean, he'll get 0-2, foul a few off, and then hit a bomb, where a lot of guys a lot of others aren't doing that. And Snell just always makes contact. It's just incredible.
He gets his hacks. Yeah.
But the other guys, you're right. I mean, you can't really like come up with one and go, oh, he's gonna foul off 6 pitches here and get one he can handle.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of that with the opposition, even off Riley and Zane, and our top tier guys.
I mean, you hate seeing so many strikeouts because it's such an unproductive at bat. But what I hate seeing is a one hack strikeout. Your guy sees 5 pitches and gets one hack because he's got a swing in a 2-2 count, and he's watched the 2 better pitches go by. And I mean, this is kind of elementary, or there's a science to it, but it almost feels like you could control this somewhat if you had that, if you kind of had that mentality of, okay, right. I don't like it. I'm going to, I can find a way to just throw the bat at it and foul it off. I think that's contributing to our strikeouts. I think we're helping these pitchers. These are great arms. I mean, this is, Cade Anderson just, I mean, this guy's going to have a big league career. Strikes out 10 of our guys, but we hit him when we swung at him. We
had 4 home runs and a single, and a double knocked him out.
Yeah. I mean, we just didn't take hacks at him.
Right? No walks.
Nope.
It's just let's see.
And really, our walks. He didn't walk anybody. Yeah, our walks came later in the game. I mean, in the 9th inning. The 9th inning, we drew 3 walks on what was his name? Binge was their guy that came in.
Dempsey or Benz or whatever it is. 4 of Anderson's 10 strikeouts were looking too.
Right. Let's talk about it kind of went viral after it happened. Everybody's like, what the hell? I mean, this is the worst 3rd strike call you've ever seen on a superstar player ever. I think this is in the 7th after they narrowed it to I believe a 5-4 game at that point.
That's correct.
Talk about what happened, Roger.
Well, Staten gets hit by a pitch to start. Brady sack bunts.
Mhm.
which Brady's an outstanding bunter,
Very
by
good
the way.
butter. Yeah.
Norton crushes that ball to right that just missed going out. It
Yeah.
was against the wind. Fowler draws a walk. They throw a wild pitch, got second and third. Bron's up there. He works it from an 0-2 to 3-2, and then the pitch literally bounced. I mean, it
I
didn't,
mean,
not
the
literally,
catcher
but I
caught
mean,
it at the ground. I mean, he
the
actually caught it
catcher,
going up. So it
right. And,
was a
and
little.
from what I hear, you guys watching at home, didn't even like Ben and all them say, "Oh, there's ball 4."
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and
I mean, the screen grabs of that we saw from I can't remember who it was I'll think of his name in a minute that had screen grabbed it and tweeted it
right.
out there. I mean, you saw that
And
thing on every
right.
aggregator site.
And then so Coach Mo took the bullet for Rob because Rob he's already had an ejection, so he would have been suspended the next game if he got ejected. So assistant coaches are automatically suspended, but still, we could do without him more than without Rob.
Right.
I
thought that was pretty big of him, honestly.
Right. I mean, and he took it. I mean, but
Mhm.
when he gets riled up, Megan's seen it. When he gets riled up, he gets riled up.
Yeah.
And he had something going on like when he came back that game over with the dugout or some fans behind the dugout.
About where he was standing.
That was LSU's dugout started chirping about Mo not being in his box.
Oh yeah.
And I guess thinking that he may have been trying to like tip pitches.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think it's
He
just
he typically he is
spot.
way out of that box.
No. Yeah.
At least on the road, I've noticed it more like because we're usually sitting behind our dugout or something. But yeah, that was. I mean, I have not seen one reputable national person or anybody that said, "No, that was possibly a strike or close."
Yeah.
No,
It wasn't anything
it's
close.
like
Seemed
no
like a
question.
delayed call too, if I recall.
It
Like we were
was.
watching, and you're
Exactly.
like, all right, it's been, and then this guy, this 5'6" guy, short man syndrome. He probably
Right.
couldn't even see over the catcher. Just calls it just low as could be, and that just killed us. And so, yeah, I don't know what Morrison said. I thought they had ejected Rob at
It
first,
looked
but
well
Yeah.
from way down where we were. I thought that too, and then
Yeah.
because then Mo turns around and comes back.
yeah,
But and then
the broadcast thought they had thrown out Vaughn. Yeah.
and that loads up the bases with Snell up, who's already hit 2 home runs and hit
Yeah.
a line drive right at the right fielder
Mhm.
in his 3 at bats.
Right.
So I mean, who knows what happens then?
Right.
I mean,
And
that
then
would have.
you're right. I mean, momentum just changed. I mean, we got to shake it off and keep playing, and we got pitch better. But it have you seen Megan? You think of a game in recent memory that just turned like that on something like that? Hard to think of.
It's hard to think of. I'm sure there has been, and I'm sure, but to that extreme where it just kind of killed every bit of momentum, it's definitely like there's nothing that immediately comes to mind.
Right. And it kind of set the tone for the weekend for LeBron, I'm afraid. I mean, it really
Kudos to him for keeping his cool and staying
exactly.
in
Yeah.
I mean, he knows he can't,
Right.
do anything to potentially get tossed out of a game. But
Right.
I mean, if he'd gotten tossed for that, I mean, that ump should never call another game. I mean, I hope they graded them and sent him copies of that or whatever. But that's ridiculous.
Drew, you think? I mean, a rough weekend for LeBron. Do you think this sort of thing that carries over, or do you kind of feel like this week everybody kind of gets well with the schedule being what it is?
Yeah, they kind of have to. I mean, you go to Stanford launching pad, and then Missouri is the team that it's kind of like, all right, you really don't want to be the first team to lose to them, but I mean, most teams are beating Missouri pretty good. They've had some close ones. They had a one runner with LSU. They have a close one almost every weekend, but Oklahoma just beat them pretty good. And we've seen Oklahoma, and they're not they're a potential regional host. They're nothing special. We had 3 close games with them, so you got to figure if Oklahoma can do that, Alabama can as well. But LeBron, Saturday was a rough game for him, but Sunday it's like you guys said, the first 3 at bats were just
Saturday actually, but
really could have easily. They're very hard hit balls. So whatever the luck percentage is, it just wasn't his on that particular day. But I think he'll be fine.
Well, and he plays so much as like a professional that he's not going to dwell on it. I mean, it's like next at bat, next play, next thing. I mean, he's the way he carries himself is just really in a professional manner as far as, not having a long memory like a defensive back.
So let's touch on one other thing about this night and a little bit more of it in the weekend. Defensively, we looked like a bad defensive team this weekend. Parents or whoever listening, if you can't admit that, it was bad, right? We looked really bad defensively. What got into this club this weekend, Meghan? I mean, what do you, and does it concern you again? Do they turn it off? Is it mental lapses? High pressure? You playing in one of the bigger stadiums in the conference, a little intimidating environment?
I mean, for the majority of the team, it is probably their first time going out of the box. The box is, legendary for a reason. It's loud. LSU fans are not quiet by any means.
Right.
I don't think that's an excuse though for what honestly just kind of looked like a lot of mental errors, a lot of just kind of like we are a much better team than anything we looked defensively this weekend. And I hope it's not cause for concern. I hope this was our one bad weekend on that front. But if there's any carryover at all, I think it very easily could go off the rails very quickly.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing that can cause. I mean, you might lose a game to Missouri if you play defense like that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you should play Missouri 20 times and not lose a game. But if you defend like that and more than, a handful of them, you're bound to drop one is kind of the way I feel.
Well, and I just pulled up Mizzou's schedule, and I mean, they've gotten kind of blown out in a majority of their games, but they are also averaging about 5 runs a game. So when you take that into account, if they're averaging 5 runs, we're not getting hits and we don't come out and play our defense.
Yeah. And you give them 2 more. You give them 2 more. Yeah, very tough. All right, so let's talk about game 2. I'm not enough on game 1. I was so, I don't know. I think I threw one of these cups across my kitchen at some point during that game. I can't remember which exactly, and it wasn't on the LeBron strikeout. It was on something else. It was one of those mental errors. So very uncharacteristic of me, I'm sure. And then we go. So then we go to Friday night. We got Riley going for us. All right, he's gonna get us through this. But I mean, man, and threw well enough. But tell me your impressions of say his name right. Is Ianson? Yeah, I think it's how they were saying it. That's a pretty impressive arm.
Yeah, he does. We let him off a hook a couple of times. So
early.
He really did look good.
Yeah,
115
pitches.
Riley seemed to struggle, like just getting a rhythm or something. I'm not exactly sure, but I mean, and people comment all the time. It's like, looks like somebody poured a bucket of water on him. Like you see his warm up routine. I mean, he works up a lather. Just all the stuff he does before the game starts. Which
that air down there was probably like soup, wasn't
it? Right. Yeah. And in this game, like all 3 games, we took an early lead. I mean, we led way more innings on the weekend than they did. If there's any prize for that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we come out, Fowler singles, LeBron rips the double down the line. I think we got a good day. And Snell does what he does. He chopped the ball to second to get the run in. Richie walks. And he advances to second. You got, you just need a ground ball or fly ball, and Will strikes out. Torres walks, and then Staten strikes out. So I mean, that was a chance to really do some damage right there.
Right. And like Hodo's at bat. I mean, I don't want to pick on him, but I mean that was one of those kind of one hack strikeouts. It's like you take 2 strikes and get 1 hack. It's like, man, this is this guy. You've seen the guy on film. It's his first inning. He's probably heated up. He probably hadn't worked in his breaking balls and all that much. You're going to get some heaters. I mean, sit on one and just jump on it. I would think would be the mentality. I felt like that we probably lost this game in that first inning. Don't you think, Drew?
Yeah, we needed to really pounce on them there. But and then Ianson, once he got settled in,
Yeah,
and our
yeah,
Brandon Cooper out behind the plate, he's got a pretty wide zone. He's going to call the corners outside a couple of inches more so than the low, and that really played well for Ianson's curveball.
mhm,
So he
right.
threw well, and then Riley, I thought, really victimized by what was behind him. I mean, this I cannot remember the error that scored that led to their first two, but those were it was either one of I think he had the pick off as well, but
Yeah,
those first two runs were unearned. I think it was a Torres error. Gosh, just can't
mhm,
remember.
yeah.
I try
They
to
they
They
were
later changed, right?
I
we had
block
the
out the bad stuff.
they changed that had the Stanfield hit the ball off Torres's glove that Bronny picked up and threw,
Yeah.
and he got to second on the throw because it got by at
Oh
first.
yeah, that's right. And then
And then was the pickoff in that inning or
I don't know if that might have been the next one, but the
Might have
next
been
one
the
they get
next.
2 runs after
Uh,
Stanfield hits the blue because our center fielder was playing at the warning track
so
for a
deep,
guy who
yeah,
has
yeah.
0
What
home
was up
well,
with
and
that?
runs. So
also on that, well, the wind was blowing straight
It's the
out
win now.
there.
Yeah,
Um, but I feel like if Brennan had peeled off earlier,
mhm,
Richie would have run through that ball. I
uh-huh.
mean, I think he'd, running into Cade and Brennan, both of those two is like us running into
yeah.
a linebacker. I mean, it
like,
like I mean, Norton was going for. I mean, he was doing
like
his
running
best. I
into
mean,
Eddie Lacy.
but at that point, they needed like Braun started or was going this way. Brennan was coming straight, and here comes
Yeah.
Richie. And I think
Yeah,
if Brennan had peeled off, or but Richie's got to tell him.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
They got tall.
you go until you're called off,
Uh-huh.
and
Even I talk about
Richie's
the
not a
at
real
bat.
loud. He's
Yeah.
not a real loud guy.
I talk about the at bats looking a little passive. I thought the defense was kind of passive. I mean, there was some, they're out there doing their part. It's not like they're not hustling or whatever, but it just felt like a couple of occasions like that one. Um, we could have done more defensively to help this game. You only give them 2 runs in the third and 2 in the fourth, and you lose. I mean, because you're playing from behind and Ianson's walking guys. I mean, he walked 5 guys, but you don't make him pay for it. We never made him. You never made him pay. You think about you walk the leadoff guy. You ought to get him home.
Right.
We just never made him pay for it. And then they go to their pen, and when you notice this with Jay Johnson, if he's got a guy working well out of the pen, he's going to stick with him. But as soon as he screws up, he's going to get one guy like you saw Saturday. He's just going to keep going and going. Well, Cowan comes in, and he sticks with him for 3 innings. He goes 45 pitches. We didn't do a whole lot to help ourselves on him. He struck 4 of our guys out. We didn't walk any. We got a couple of runs off of him late, but
4 hits and 2 runs.
yeah, yeah. But just
You
a
know,
tough
I,
night.
I don't know what it felt like at home, but there at the game,
Uh-huh.
it was 4-1 after the fourth. It felt like it was 20-1. It felt like we
Yeah,
didn't have it. I
yeah.
mean, it
They
felt like
look
we
flat.
didn't.
Yeah.
But Braylon just came in and just shoved it.
Oh, exactly. Yes.
I mean, and that, and it obviously gave us a chance, and we had a, opportunity or two and just didn't capitalize. But, without Braylon coming in and doing that, no telling what, they might have scored 4 or 5 more.
Mhm.
Seeing that made me wish we had gone to Braylon instead of JT in that first
The
game
night before,
because
yeah,
man, he was so
yeah.
good. But then again,
Different
I'd rather have
circumstances.
won first and third game and lost the second one 22-1 if it had to come to that point. But
Right.
yeah, it did feel like we didn't have a chance, but we did have a chance. So it's kind of
I
like we were
know
competitive
that's
all
the weird.
weekend. It
I mean,
really
but it felt
was.
like, even some people in the, or I guess there was some text again. It's like our guys look defeated. You can look in their, of
Yeah, I
course,
think
I
it was
mean,
just because of all those defensive
right from 400 feet.
fumbles. It
Other than
not our best game.
other
No.
than Cade, I wasn't very close to very well. The bullpen and Cade, I could see, but that was about it.
Yeah. We've not seen this team like make 3 errors one night, make 2 the next night. I mean, you struck out 16 times. When have we ever struck out 16 times? I don't know. I mean, I don't think Skeen struck us out 16 times.
Mm-mm.
And so just a rough night all around. And I kind of go back to what I said before. If I get the box up, same deal. The bottom, the middle, and the bottom were just not there. I mean, we got nothing out of the middle or the bottom of the order. In fact, from 5 to 9 in our order, that night. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 of the 16 strikeouts came from 5 to 9 in the order. Now, LeBron and Fowler were the other 5, but Snell and Richie managed to make contact, but
Yeah,
we got nothing out of it. We got like 2 hits out of that bottom half of that order. So it's hard to put together innings, any kind of inning, if you've got an entire chunk of your order that's just not hitting it, right? Because inevitably they're either going to be batting on the back end of the inning or the front end of the inning, and you got to, it's hard to put up crooked numbers, much less any number.
Right, and I think that's why Rob's moving the order around some, trying to keep those guys back to back. It's like you got 3 in a row that you have no shot.
Yeah,
of anything.
Right. If they're swinging it like they did.
So you have to rearrange it, and getting early on, Snell got moved like after the first weekend because he kind of struggled, and then
now
he's definitely where he should be.
Yeah, he's a fixture at 3 in that order.
And then Richie's probably a little unorthodox cleanup hitter, but he's really, really playing well. And it's like, well, what else do you do?
Right. And he's showing some power and finding gaps.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he has a lot of doubles, and 6 home runs and got triple capabilities, of course. So,
but I think you hit the nail on the head there. You brought up Myers. I mean, I think the outing for Myers maybe gave us a little bit of a boost going into the weekend. I know we still lost this game. We fell short late. I mean, we just, we couldn't piece together anything but a run at a time. But I thought that Myers outing was important to hold them where you are, so you don't get beat, 12-3 or whatever it might have been, and which you certainly could have, the way you were playing defensively. But a big inning for me, even though you lost the game, it kind of vaulted you into well, I'm trying to say Sunday was Saturday. So let's talk about Saturday. So we're it's kind of a must-have game. In fact, I've got one of the questions that I had here. Well, before I get into it, Meghan, your thoughts on the Sunday game, and I'll find the question.
It's nice to see Zane really bounce back after 2 really rough weekends. And maybe this is the reset that he really needed with that one. I would argue from an offensive side, yes, we won the game. Yes, it looked better. Would I say that we woke up? Arguably, I'd still think no. I think we're still missing what we kind of had at the beginning of the season, where it was find a way to get on, pass the bat, get the next hit, get a guy over, to just kind of almost relying on the long ball a little bit too much to win games. But all in all, I mean, it does go to the idea of like you can't get swept in this league.
Yeah.
You can't get swept and want to keep going. So we did our job in that regard. Zane did his job after 2 really rough weekends. So, I can't complain. We got to win, and we had to have it.
Right. Drew, jump out the 5-1 lead again through 5, and you saw them start chipping away. You get a little concerned there. Same thing was going to happen.
Yeah, we 2 years ago when we went up there and got swept, if I recall, on that Saturday and Sunday game, I know the Saturday we were up like 5-0 or something like that and lost both of those. So it was kind of like it's really hard to just go win an 11-1 game in the SEC unless you're just built differently with strong NIL funds. But our guys were gritty on Saturday, and that's what I like seeing. We got the 3-run home run. Roger, I'm not sure how that ball looked. You were watching it, but we didn't. It looked like a routine pop-up when they were showing it.
Got up in that wind, I bet.
Yeah.
Like I said, Heiberg's dad was sitting next to me, and he was like, "Oh, damn, that's not." And I said, "No, let's go." I was watching Terrell, and he was going back to the fence, and he was like, "Why?" And I was like, "No, it's getting out of here." Because the wind, just picked it up. But yeah, I mean, normally if I wasn't sitting there and didn't know the wind situation, I thought, okay, it's a routine fly ball. Yeah. But he kept drifting and drifting. He got to the warning track, and then it was just like,
oh, there it is. So.
And then it was several rows up too. I mean, it wasn't a wall scraper.
He carried, it's a pretty good.
So we need hits like that. We need 3-run home runs. I remember like the Torres one against Oklahoma on that Saturday, the last game. So that's we're going to win games when we get those 3-run home runs and grand slams. So I was excited. I know John Young had the throwing air when he was 30 feet deep, and I don't know how deep
It's
he
a
was in
tough
right
throw.
field, but it was tough
He
because
was
it
he was pretty
sailed.
far out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Tough to be
I'm
accurate from there.
yeah, and I'm in a group thread with people, and they're just bitching about, it's just a routine play. He'll tell you he should have made it, but that was going to be close if it had been on
Yeah.
mine. And then
Yeah.
next thing you know, the next guy just bam over the
First
fence.
pitch.
You could kind of see that coming. So,
Oh yeah, definitely.
but we held tight. I was surprised we brought in Heiberger when we did, but I think he
Two
was a
pitch,
one pitch double.
two pitch
Yeah,
double play.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that was incredible. Heiberger's been really good this year for the most part.
Yeah.
For like a lot of the most part. So,
Mhm.
and then when we brought Osmer in, that three up, three down, all on strikeouts to really good hitters. But going back to Zane, man, it was just so good to see him man up, like I said he needed to do last week. It's like maybe someone told him, "Hey, this podcaster said you need to man up," and he did. There was a couple of
Were you
strikeouts.
like Pat Dye, motivating Georgia and
Yeah, I texted
2002?
Mike Morrison and said, first unblock John Chumbler and Riggs Stevenson. But I said, hey, he's not man enough to beat Mississippi State. And then he showed it to him. No, I didn't do that. But
No.
there was a couple of strikeouts that really stood out to me from Zane.
Yeah.
And the first one was, and I cannot remember, it was maybe fourth, fifth. He struck out Braswell. No,
Mhm.
not Braswell, Stanfield
Stanfield,
Stanfield.
that was the
with
bottom of the second with runners on first and second.
yeah, that was huge. And then he got Milam one on a call third strike. I think that was him that got Milam with that.
Right after Jones reached out and hit that home run,
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
so
was just
one-handed.
pure stream.
I
he
mean,
bounced
just
back with some really good um just really made some really key pitches. So, I really, to be honest, I kind of hope we go Fay, Quick, and Zane
I
in
do
that
too.
order against Missouri. And after that, it just kind of depends. I mean,
Mhm.
Riley's going to get that. Riley's kind of in like a Grayson Hitt type who's going to kind of get that pitch count up. Do you really want that to open the weekend? I mean, he is your
Right.
guy, I think. So I would lean towards yes, but I think Fay would be a good option there. And I think Zane to close out a series is really good.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, let me throw this question out. This Tyler Wilcox at Johnny MySpace, who's going to be on the Weekly Joe Extra with the wall banging right field Rangers. By the way, Megan, take this within the context of feeling the pressure coming off two series losses that felt winnable and staring down the barrel of a sweep. Is it safe to call? Is it safe to call the Game 3 win at LSU the most important of the season so far? It's pretty good question right there, Tyler. At Johnny MySpace. Most
I think
important win so far.
I think to date it would kind of have to be because I mean you get swept on this weekend. I think everything kind of starts falling apart from
Yeah,
there.
it could very easily. Yes.
Yeah. And like you run the risk of it's like, okay, where are we going to pick up these extra wins with Vandy, who has looked really good going on the road there, with Florida, who is still Florida. Like
Go Florida.
that's not going to be an easy place to get wins. We have Georgia coming into town, who, I mean, we'll talk about that, I guess, next
Georgia,
week,
Georgia.
week
Yeah.
after, whenever that is, of that. But, like that is we have hard games to get wins in. So if we get swept in this one, it gets a lot harder to get to that, 16
Exactly.
win magic number we've been talking about.
Right. Right. Another one. This is Derek Zinri at King Zinri. He sends us questions all the time. How do we feel about Zane being the Sunday guy? You talked about that a little bit a moment ago, Drew. Personally, this Derek loves it. And what are the remaining expectations slash needs to hosting a regional look like? I'll give you the Zane thing. I think for the regional, I mean, obviously it's still a way to go. You got 12 games. I mean, you just got to get in that top 16 right now. We're in all the rankings this week, we're 15, 16 up down to like 24. So we're in about a 10-point range. But I think for us, the opportunities ahead of us, if you take 2 or 3 from Georgia, can you take 2 or 3 from Vandy on the road? It starts with sweeping this weekend. Can you stay undefeated in the midweek? That means you would have beaten Troy, who's right up there. So 9 in the RPI at this point, and you can improve on that obviously with some wins. It'd be hard to deny a team in the top 10 the RPI hosting a regional if if you end up with 16-ish conference wins. I think Drew, your thoughts on? I mean, you talked about Zane on Sunday. Just talk a little bit about his outing. I mean, what did you see in the outing that was different maybe this time?
I think before, you kind of have to have a little luck as well. I think the first guy, or there was a double play in the first. Well, he gave up like two pretty hard hits in the first
Yeah.
The
inning, and we got
It was
out of
like
it.
2 innings. That whole thing was
Yeah,
like 2
so
innings.
it's like it's kind of hard for. I wasn't thinking, here we go again. I'm just like, okay,
Mhm.
here we go. We got out of the first without giving up runs, and let's do that again. So that's what I think he did. And I talked enough about him. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say as
Yeah.
well. But just before that, the regionals. We talked a couple weeks ago about what'll get us to a regional record. I still think 16 and 14 will. Let's beating Troy would certainly help that.
Yeah. That's true.
But I
Yeah.
think our RPI may slide down a spot or two this week,
This
even if we
weekend.
go
Yeah.
4-0 because of Stanford and Missouri just not being very high. Missouri's like 130 or 150.
Uh-huh.
Stanford, I couldn't find them. I think I
They were,
stopped at 250.
they're in
Hopefully I
the top,
overlooked them.
they're in
Hopefully I
top
over.
70 or 80. They're,
Oh,
they're top
really?
70
Oh,
or 80. Yeah. So it's not going to be
okay.
as bad,
Yeah.
but yeah,
So,
Missouri's way down there.
you
and it's
know,
and it's a road game, so that
that's
Yeah.
true.
counts for
So
something.
maybe we'll be okay. But yeah, I'd love to hear
Stanford's
what you guys
at
had to say about.
64 according to
64.
Warren
Okay.
Moore.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
well, then I was just scrolling way past, assuming they'd be in the hundreds. But yeah, I mean, I said what
Mhm.
I thought about Zane just a second ago. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
what you guys thought.
Yeah. Roger, what'd you see different about him this weekend? Or I mean, it's kind of the old Zane. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
think
I mean, his demeanor and the way he carries himself doesn't ever change. I mean, he's
Mhm.
just calm and cool, whether he's getting blasted or setting everybody down.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the Like Drew was saying, Dickinson led off with a single. Corral, who dude's one of my favorite players. That dude is
He's
good.
good.
He's good.
True freshman. I mean, he
Fun
hit
to
a
watch.
ball. He scorched one up the middle. Braun happened to be playing right there, grabbed it, stepped on the bag, double play. Frey singles, Jones walks. It's like, I mean, that's the first four guys, really. And
It
then,
was like two. It was like I said. It was like 2 innings. It was like once you
right,
felt the double play, you thought you're out of it. Then it started up
yeah.
again. Yeah.
And then he settled in, and he made pitches, he got outs, and like we were just alluding to, Jones dude's just a lumberjack. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he just reached out and flicked that ball.
It's basically
out there.
wrist, one hand
Right,
wrist.
right.
Mhm.
And he came back and struck out Milam, who's a really, really good player.
Yeah.
And I mean, he got through the 5. He walked to a guy in the 5th with 2 outs and got that comebacker that he made a nice play on.
Yeah.
Hit very hard. Right at 90 pitches, he could maybe could have gone
Yeah.
a little more.
Uh-huh.
Which pushes if they go further, it pushes your guys back a little bit, and you don't have to use somebody that you might be iffy on. So
Right.
but
Right.
I mean, I think for his confidence and for the rest of the season is like, hey, you gave us 5 great innings.
Yeah.
We're
On
not
the
gonna-
road, tough
on the
environment.
road in a tough environment against one of the best teams in the country. So, we got ours because we hit, we saved some of our bigger arms, for today. And we had
Mhm.
Mike Tyberger, Osmore, we had Finiteri available.
Yeah.
We
A lot
had
of
a
guys
lot of guys available.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I just can't say enough about it. It's much like Ben Hess at State.
It was
last
like,
year.
yeah, exactly.
It had
Yeah.
to have it, and he went out and did it.
Twice last year we were facing sweeps on the road. One was the food poisoning weekend at Mississippi State, and he got out there and shoved into the 5th or the 6th on a hot day with all these guys, dehydrated, and we gutted that one out. And then at Auburn on the final night of the season, after it stormed later on that night and it just delayed it or whatever. I mean, even then we had had a couple of rough nights. One a real tight game, and then one a blowout that we made a tight game. But yeah, it reminded me a lot of what Ben did down the stretch last year, Megan, and I mean, kind of showed you what he's got inside of him that we think can project out the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, everything to say on Zane, like it's been said, so
Yeah.
I will just echo that of
Okay.
everyone else here.
Well, here's one.
He's
Yeah.
done what he's supposed to.
Yeah, here's one I'll throw at you. Max Mobley. I'll find his name out in a minute. He's actually going to be on the right field Rager extra edition of the Weekly Joe here later on. He's got a good one. I'll throw it to you, Megan. 15 of Zane's 28 earned runs allowed have come in the first inning. Do you think this is more of Zane coming into games flat, or opponents having more adrenaline against him early, a little more juice, or they kind of maybe have some tendencies picked up? So what he asked is, if it's the latter, do you think he would benefit from having an opener ahead of him? We haven't really seen openers in college baseball. You see them in the majors on occasion with a lot of teams, honestly. An opener for Zane, Megan.
Goodness. I don't even think I'd ever consider that in college baseball as a thing. So I think I'm just gonna go with a no for that one. It
Yep.
doesn't feel right.
Nope.
But I think to the question, it's probably a mix of both, of the sense of like maybe I do think it takes Zane kind of a minute to find his groove. Kind of reminds me of like Garrett McMillan kind of
McMillan,
did, where it's like,
exactly.
GMAC would have a tendency to have really, really bad first innings and then settle in and kind of come in and just like it'd be lights out after that. I don't think Zane, to that has had like his first innings are that bad, but like I do think it just finds him a little bit to get the groove. But it's also like it's SEC baseball.
It
They're gonna
is.
come
It
out, they're
is.
gonna
It's
be
what
good,
happens.
especially you're getting, the top three of the best lineups out there from the get-go. So
Right.
I think it's kind of a combination all the way around. And I don't think bringing in an opener is really going to, one, I don't like it as an idea, but two, I don't think it would work for Zane. Like when he's used to that start, I think you do that, you're really messing up a lot of kind of that routine that is
Mhm.
kind of built into your starting pitchers.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
still going to be his first inning when he comes in.
That's right. Either way. Yep. Yep. You did get on this night. I mean, the bats, or the bats or the eyes, as the case might be. 10 walks we drew this night. I mean, we hadn't drawn near that the whole weekend going into that game. We only struck out 9 times, which is almost about half of the night before. Still a lot. But we did, we got plunked a couple of times. And we had hit a sac fly. Left 14 guys on base. I mean, so even though we won this game 7-4, you look back on it, it's like, man, we could have run away with this one. So yeah, so again, a good win. You mentioned Osborne. I mean, Osborne was just money. I mean, 2 innings, he strikes out 5 guys, in 5 of the 6 outs, he recorded about the strikeout. And you give that guy rest like he had, and you get up there and you can go two innings. He did it pretty efficiently on 29 pitches. So a good win. You get out of town with a W. You're still 9-9 in the conference. Of everything that's happened, as bad as we look statistically right now. If I pull up, I'd have to go find it right now. But I think we're hitting like 237 in the conference at this point.
I
I think
was,
does that sound right?
yeah, I think Missouri's the only one behind us.
Yeah.
I was thinking on that today. It's like, and Drew has mentioned it several times, as bad as our hitting and pitching numbers are in conference, how are we 9-9?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Against the schedule we played too.
right,
When
right,
you think about it, we got Missouri coming up. You might jump your average 10 points this weekend, but you hadn't done that yet, and you're 9-9.
right.
We've except for the last 5 games, last 5 conference games, except for the sixth, seventh, and eighth inning of the first LSU game, and then the eighth inning, we're throwing guys who are really not that experienced in SEC
Yeah.
games. We've pitched really well, I thought, and I think that's a big credit to Coach Jackson. I think he's doing a great job with staff. We like to pick. It's like
Yeah.
I'll internally criticize Coach Jackson for making the right moves or the wrong moves,
Bullpen, yeah,
but you
yeah.
really never know how these moves are going to do until they actually happen. So it's like here you see Coach JJ go out there. It's like, all right, it seems like it's just like a big, like, all right, I'm in the lab now. I'm about to just mix and match. But like Johnson was just actually kind of pissing me off late in the game, just so
Yeah.
many moves he was
Just 8
making. But
pitchers. Yeah, 8
yeah,
pitchers.
we've got guys pitching well, really late, really as of late. And when I look at the schedule, the 9-9, I was like, yeah, that's solid in the SEC.
Uh-huh.
There's really only probably one more win I think we should have, and I don't know
Yeah.
which game, but it's the Mississippi State series. We shouldn't have lost 2 or 3 at home. I mean, every other series, it's like, okay, Tennessee losing 2 or 3 at home. You hate to lose a home series, but Tennessee's really good. Auburn, you hate to lose to Auburn. Auburn's really good, but Mississippi State, that's one that we should have found a way to win 2 out of 3.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So you're 9-9. I mean, again, I kind of go back. I may have said it in the pre-broadcast, or if I've said it already, forgive me. You kind of are what you are. You've played. There's enough of a sample size that you're, everything you're doing is it's a trend. I mean, it's essentially there. You're 9-9. Pitching's the strength of the team, all right? Maybe the starters haven't, chewed up the innings that we thought they would, but the middle relievers and then the backside of the bullpen, the Myers and the Osmer have been absolutely money for you. I feel like Faye can extend. I think that's good. Keep him in that rotation, extending. Let's see him go 4 or 5 innings this weekend. Let's see what he can do later in games. Zane to me feels back, although he wasn't really gone. I mean, I think you just saw the real Zane, and he kind of, whatever mechanically he might have been struggling with his back. Defense has got to be better. I mean, oh my God. I mean, you just can't derp up games like that with just boneheaded defensive plays. Double play balls to first, and we throw it into left field, and they score a little league run. I mean, a guy goes all the way around the bases. The pickoff throws. The balls we don't get to, we've talked a lot about the balls the outfielders get to that before were an adventure. It kind of feels like the infield's just not getting to some of those things that they should get to. Maybe would be a little, plays on the verge of spectacular, but they're just not getting there. We don't have enough range at second base right now.
Yeah.
LeBron's had a few that, like, oh, here comes a spectacular when it goes under his glove or something,
Right.
up the middle. And so there's some things like that. And you hate to say this because, I mean, you love all our guys and you want them to do well, but it's like some of these guys, based on the sample, are probably just not going to be very dependable SEC hitters. I mean, let's face it. Who is? I mean, there's not, every team's got this. But I think what they've got the opportunity to do is contribute in spots. And you hope it's not a weekend like this one where they just don't, they don't find the spot or they never find a spot. It's okay if you're going to hit 220 in the conference, but if you drive in, if you hit me a bases clearing double in a big spot in the, on the road somewhere, all's forgiven, right? But it feels like that's kind of, I mean, I think that's a fair assessment of kind of where we are. We're kind of schizo on offense. One night we're hitting 3 homers, another night we're striking out 16 times, or we're drawing 2 walks one night, we're drawing 10 another night. Feels like we don't have a great identity at the plate. And Rob talked about it going into Sunday, wanting them to be more aggressive or whatever. Well, it's like, well, why didn't we do it Friday and Saturday or the first 2 games of the series? So then that's the other thing I think is and we talked about it a lot, just how passive we are at the plate right now, or at least were in a couple of those games. Any other, I mean, I threw out a lot there. Anything on that you'd add on or identity of this team that you would, if you were going to assess them, and that's a critical eye on it. Obviously, there's a lot of good, but when you start just picking apart the critical parts.
Well, we've obviously got to play almost perfect defensively, I think, because like we're not the type that's gonna. We got to pitch and defend. I mean, because we're not going to just probably go score 12 runs against Vanderbilt in any of those games.
No.
So it's just critical to play fundamentally sound. So I don't know. It's hard to hit a baseball. When I sit there and I watch Will Hodo take a 1-1 fastball right down the middle, well, that's coming 95 miles an hour from a lefty.
You and I wouldn't see it, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't see it if it was 65 miles an hour. So, when we're watching guys hit, it's like, all right, it's fans can get mad at them taking a strike 3, and we can too, but it's like, it's hard to hit a baseball. So maybe it's a little easier to field more cleanly, I guess. But then again, some of those exit velos are about 104 or something like that. So I think with this team, they can be scrappy and gritty. They don't give up in a lot of these games. I mean, over the course of the season, you're going to see games where it's just after like the Thursday game against LSU, we just looked like we were just flat after the calls didn't go our way. So just kind of like the Ohio State game, you just got to get it back one game at a time, one at bat at a time, because you've got Justin LeBron. So those are my thoughts.
I mean, we just got to get some more guys back to hit hot, whether hot's 250 or 240. It's
exactly.
It's better,
Don't forget 350.
It's better than 180.
Yeah. I mean, like Neil, if Brady Neal's hitting 270, then I think
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Brady
has
really come on.
He has. He's gotten a lot better lately.
We know what LeBron can do.
Yeah.
And has done, and like I said, he smoked 3 balls the other day and got nothing to show for it. But I mean, he's, technically in a slump because his average is going down because, has not been getting as many hits. But we know what he has in him. We know what Snell can do. Richie's showing what he can do, and the others are going to have more ups and downs. I think. We know Torres is better than he's shown. We know Will can do more than he's shown. Fowler has kind of come back some. I've probably been missing Plattner's bat. I mean,
Yeah.
Bull Mizell was hurt, and he's kind of come back a little bit, and he's hit the ball hard a couple of times. He pinch hit the other night. He hit a line drive out to left field, and then he had he had that key walk like we talked about.
Gets his hacks in.
Yeah, and sees a lot of pitches. He's has a good setup as a hitter as far as taking and fouling off balls and seeing a lot of pitches, but. It's just, how much can you get out of those guys? Well, if we can get 240 or 250 instead of 170 or 180, we're that much better.
We just got to get a little more, right, Megan? We
Right.
just got to get something. You got to get something more. You're not going to get them at 325 and 350. I mean, maybe somebody gets real hot, but I mean, yeah, you can't have 125. You got to, give me 225.
And it's got to be more consistent than one or two guys, and that's what I think we're seeing right now. Is it's one or two guys, and it's like just someone get the hit, someone get someone over, like just the small ball type stuff we were doing at the beginning, I think has kind of really dropped off somewhere, and that we're not drawing walks, like all that we've talked about. And I think that's the identity we had early that we've kind of lost a little bit, which I think is kind of what we're seeing all in all, why we aren't putting up those numbers quite like we were.
Yeah. You mentioned Plattner earlier. Will Legrone has a question. What situation about Will Plattner? Will he be back this weekend? Is he back this weekend?
Hopefully.
Is that what we're hearing? Okay.
His pain. Well, I mean, I think he's managing his pain a little better, and
okay.
He has been taking batting practice and catching, and throwing has been his biggest issue at the moment with the middle finger.
With it, yeah.
Hopefully, might be able to see him, which could have Will and Brady in the lineup at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm sorry. One more question, and this I've kind of weaved them in here because a lot of them are kind of on the fringe of some of the topics we were on, but this one's a little bit different. This is Anthony Pesce's bullpen catcher at C. Brizio, who sends us one most weeks. How bad will the optics be if we lose a game to a team that lost to a hat? I think he's talking about Stetson. Is that?
Well, we lost to Stetson last year, so
Missouri, I think, dropped a game early in the year to Stetson. I think that's what he's talking about. Are there any other hat teams? Is there any other hat nicknames out there?
Manhattan.
They played Binghamton, but I don't think that's a hat.
But yeah, good questions from a lot of our viewers tonight. Let's do this. So we cover the weekend. We get out of there with a win. I mean, thank God that long bus ride home, but that certainly makes it a little bit more bearable. They get the day off Sunday. They're back out there today, Roger, like you said. I mean, you said Anthony's throwing a little in the pins, maybe getting back. Hopefully Plattner's getting back. Did we come out of the weekend kind of unscathed injury wise as far as the other guys?
Yeah, nobody got hurt anything any further that I'm aware of. I mean, Bull's groin, and then Staten's finger. They're just lingering. I mean, I don't think they're getting worse. They're just not getting 100% better.
Yeah. So reasonably good health. And I mean, we've been very fortunate with pitching staff. I mean, we have besides the blister on Riley's finger. I mean, we've been able to kind of march go into most weekends with a full stable of arms. I know Austin Morris had a little setback earlier in the year, and a couple other guys, but around the league, and kind of a top. I mentioned top to bottom, a little weird weekend. Carolina takes 2 out of 3 from Ole Miss at home. Carolina's only got what, 4, 6, I think 4 wins in the conference. Tennessee drops 2 of 3 at home to Kentucky. Vandy sweeps Georgia in Nashville. Good. We get to go play them next weekend. Oklahoma sweeps Missouri, which you kind of expect. A&M stays hot, 2 out of 3 from Arkansas. They're 8-10 now. They were flailing around at like what if they 1-11, or I'm sorry, 1-11 or 1-8. I mean, after 3 weekends. Arkansas, who I've been big fanboy of, as we mentioned before, is kind of regressing back to the mean. And then Texas sweeps Auburn, who Auburn was playing as well as about anyone in the country, probably besides Texas. And Texas just manhandled them this weekend.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I could have bared another Auburn going in there and sweeping them. Top to bottom in the league, Megan. I mean, Texas kind of seems to be a little bit head and shoulders above the others, at least consistency wise.
Looking at the numbers, looking at everything they've done, I think I've only watched them like one time this year, so it's not like I have a big
Mhm.
personal sample size. But I mean, I would say yes. Like,
Yeah,
Texas is really good this year,
yeah,
and it kind of shows when you have other really good teams getting swept by them.
right, right. Tennessee, a little bit of an enigma. We handled them one game, and Kentucky got up there and really, really kind of beat them pitching wise. I mean, shut them down yesterday, Drew.
Yeah, that probably surprised me more than anything. Not so much the Texas A&M Arkansas series, just because A&M's been playing a lot better lately, but
Mhm.
net just kind of thought Kentucky was just kind of a middle of the pack, maybe lower, but they go into Tennessee and win 2 out of 3. And I haven't looked at the box scores and all that, but it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it just depends on when you play these teams. I think if we played
yeah,
Texas A&M at home at their place right now, I'm not so sure it would go as well as it did that first
yeah.
weekend.
Yeah,
Right,
But
right.
with
Um,
this league, it just depends on when you catch people.
they're moving up in the RPI. I mean, they're up in the 30s now. I mean, they're going to be in the teens by the time the season's over, probably, which probably props up our RPI because those are road wins. So I think that's a big help to us. They're kind of on the rise. Florida's playing better, which is great because we got to go down there. I talked a little bit about the Missouri factor, Roger, and just I mean, unbelievable how bad that
yeah,
team is. I mean, you hate to knock the guys, but I mean, you think you'd win one of them somewhere, and you just don't want to be that team. But
right.
definitely a feather in our cap that all these teams ahead of us has played them. We have not. So we get to go pick up potentially. If you do what you're supposed to do this weekend, you come out of the weekend 12-9, and these other teams are beating each other. You
Right.
make up the ground, right?
Yes. Yeah. We can maybe jump over some of the 10-8 teams
Yeah. Yeah.
and, get up, if we can get somewhere from 6 to 8, that'd be great.
Exactly. Yeah. Their remaining 4 series are Alabama. They play Georgia. They play A&M, and they play Mississippi State. So I mean, two of those are behind us. One of them is a game ahead of us in Georgia. All those top teams are going to start beating each other, and so you really have it. The schedule sets up well for you, even though it's tough down the stretch. Getting Missouri at this time, getting A&M when you did. Looks like it helps. A&M may be the best team in the league, but I'd say they go. Okay, so this weekend they go to Texas.
Ooh,
We'll see, that'll be a grudge match. But we'll see. We'll probably see some good ball there. Vandy's at Ole Miss. Tennessee's at LSU. So again, they're two teams that'll be knocking
wow.
each other around. State is at Auburn. Arkansas's at Florida. Carolina, Kentucky, Mizzou at Alabama, and of course Georgia goes to Oklahoma, who comes off a sweep, and Georgia just came off getting swept. So very very intriguing series. I mean, I think in particular that Tennessee LSU, and then Vandy Ole Miss now looks like a pretty
Yeah.
that's a top half of the bracket. And then of course A&M and Texas, which is the most most appealing, especially with WrestleMania all behind us now. It's kind
Yeah.
of the same type of thing. You know, RPI at 9. You feel pretty good about that, Megan, going into this stretch?
And you can't complain about it. I think it was Drew who said it earlier. Like it'll probably drop this weekend. Mizzou's at 153 with RPI right now, so inevitably, even winning it, it's gonna drop. I think we come out, the teams ahead of us, maybe drop a couple games. If we come out sitting 12th, 13th on the weekend, I think we're in a really good spot looking forward.
Right. But it positions you well. You still got to go win the games, though, right, Drew? I mean, it's all in front of
Yeah, I mean, you lose to Missouri, and it's like, and it's tough. You just can't imagine a team going 0-30, even 0-21 in the SEC. So, yeah, and I'm not sure how much run differential means. It'd be nice to win these games by 10 runs, all three of them. But what I'm really looking forward is seeing our starters all three of them go into the sixth inning. That's what I want to see the most. And then just hit the ball better than we have been, but we'll
Exactly.
have that chance.
Yep. Yep. Borderline right now for hosting a regional. We talked a little bit about that before. I mean, what was you still think 16 gets you as in host territory, Roger?
I do.
16?
I do.
Yep.
Possibly 15, depending on what happens, but I
Yeah.
think 16 should.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think the only thing.
One thing, though, I guess, is like 16 got us in 2023, but there's a 14-team SEC league, and now it's 16.
Right.
And
It's 16,
Texas and Oklahoma are obviously Texas is hosting, and Oklahoma's kind of there. So it's another SEC team to battle to get to be a host, because they're not going to give us as many as we probably deserve. The SEC deserves.
Some of those projections that you see nationally are like showing, here's the 16 they're going to host. And we're not in it right now, but I mean, obviously got it ahead of us. But 7 of them are SEC teams. You use typically what you're seeing about 7, right? You've got Georgia, you got OU, you got Arkansas, you got LSU, you got Tennessee, you got Vandy, you got Ole Miss, and you got Texas. So I mean, really 8. I mean, I think if I got them, I think that's most of what I'm seeing. 7 or 8. Maybe one of those is squeezed out a little bit, but yeah, it's hard to think that they're going to give 9 slots to SEC teams. So you've got to do some work to get ahead of somebody, which makes the Georgia series, the Vandy series, very, very important, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure does.
With you kind of being a borderline at this point. So exciting week ahead. I mean, we got a 6:00 game at Sanford tomorrow night. Always a kind of a fun event.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Always. Sometimes a little bit.
I mean the weather.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Oh, I ain't even looked. Yeah. So, and then 3 this weekend, starting Thursday night. I think we got a 7:00 game on Thursday. Must be like network, SEC network maybe. Then we got 6:00 on Friday, and then I think it's 1:00 on Saturday. So
761.
761.
We're on SEC Network on Thursday night.
On Thursday, that's what I figured. Be in that time. Yep. Finally, let's see. I guess it's probably. I think it's dead week this week at the university. Maybe I'm right. If it's, and then maybe finals are next week. So hopefully the students will get out there. We're going to talk to some right field ragers, as we mentioned a couple of different times. We're going to have a little extra podcast. Be on the lookout for that. Other than that, final thoughts.
Let's win some games.
We covered it all.
Let's win all 4 of them.
Yep, that's right. Let's do it. All right, folks, we really enjoyed it. Roger, great job as usual. Meghan, really appreciate it. Drew, thanks as always. To Christian Sykes, Crimson Crossover, Peter Slight, and Campland. I'm sorry, I called the name. Taking us away here, and we will see you next week on the Weekly Joe.
Swing it, boys, swing for the fence. Shove it, boys, make 'em miss. Some big league chew in a baseball souvenir. Come on, sing with me now. The Joe is home, sweet home. It's roll, tide, roll. The Joe is home, that's right. Home, sweet home. Hey, look, is that Roll Tide Willie over there? Well, it's Bama Blitz.